Every year, hundreds of tons of cocaine are generated for global consumption. Coca leaves, a plant with traditional uses and well-known properties, enjoy sustained demand, which has driven the expansion of their cultivation in recent decades. Have you ever wondered how this raw material ends up as a trafficked product? We visited cultivation areas and processing centers to document, through journalistic investigation, the entire circuit that sustains this business. The history of cocaine begins with the coca leaf, used by Andean civilizations for over 3,000 years. Indigenous peoples of South America, especially in Peru and Bolivia, chewed these leaves to combat fatigue, hunger, and altitude sickness. During the Spanish colonization, the conquistadors noted its stimulating effects and promoted its use among indigenous workers to increase their stamina in the silver mines. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, cocaine gained popularity in Europe and the United States. It was used in medicines and beverages, including the first formula for Coca-Cola, as well as in medical treatments as a local anesthetic. Even neurologists championed its stimulant properties. However, over time, its addictive and harmful effects were discovered, leading to its prohibition in many countries at the beginning of the 20th century. Beginning in the 1970s, drug cartels in Colombia and other countries began producing cocaine in large quantities for international trafficking, ushering in the era of modern drug trafficking. Cocaine production requires two key inputs in large volumes: freshly harvested coca leaves and gasoline. Due to the scale of the phenomenon, cocaine production requires both extensive coca crops and a sustained flow of inputs and resources that feed the production chain. In many rural regions, the plant is grown on plots that combined amount to enormous areas. Hundreds of thousands of hectares dedicated to this crop in areas where state presence and economic alternatives are limited. Every day, thousands of rural workers, small farmers and entire families perform agricultural tasks that keep this production moving, from planting to harvest. This territorial and material dependence creates a complex parallel economy: gravitational cultivation. Logistics networks, informal markets and intermediary systems connect raw materials with processing centers and ultimately with export routes. The constant availability of industrial and transportation inputs, without going into technical details, is a determining factor in sustaining large-scale production. When these resources are scarce, the chains suffer, and when they flow uncontrolled, activity intensifies. This framework has profound consequences. It disrupts local economies, exerts pressure on land use, and creates power dynamics that hinder the implementation of development policies and sustainable alternatives for the affected communities. On these plantations, they carry out tasks such as planting, maintenance, and harvesting the leaves, ensuring optimal plant growth. It is estimated that more than 1,000 tons of coca leaves are cultivated daily, as high demand drives constant production. This activity is especially common in regions where climatic and soil conditions favor its development, such as Catatumbo in Norte de Santander, the department of Cauca, Putumayo, and Guaviare, areas characterized by their mountainous and jungle geography, which hinder military control, and they facilitate the expansion of illicit crops. Within these regions, farmers plant new coca plants daily, ensuring a steady production that can reach approximately 1 ton of coca leaves per harvest cycle. Thanks to the climate of these regions, where it rains frequently and is very humid, there's no need to water the plants excessively. The rain keeps the soil moist almost all the time, so farmers only water the plants once a week to ensure they have enough water. The constant rainfall helps the plants grow well without the need for extra watering. After approximately 5 months of growth, the coca leaves reach their optimum harvesting point. At this point, harvest workers, known as raspachines, enter the fields to carry out manual harvesting. With skill and speed, they carefully remove the mature leaves from each plant, making sure not to damage the stems so they continue to produce in future harvests. This cycle is repeated several times throughout the year, approximately every 3 or 4 months, allowing for continuous production without prolonged interruptions. Once the harvest is complete, workers sort the leaves and prepare them for the next stage of the process. These processes are usually carried out manually, with coordinated effort and under conditions that require precision and speed. The work involves drying, sorting, and arranging the leaves in designated spaces, where they are prepared for further handling. At this point, efficiency is key. Producers, seeking to optimize the time and quantity of material they process, resort to rudimentary but functional tools. Lacking advanced industrial machinery, many of these spaces improvise with adapted equipment that allows them to shred large volumes of leaves in less time. Although these techniques are low-tech, their purpose is to achieve uniformity in the plant material, facilitating the subsequent treatment stages. Although these machines were originally designed for trimming grass, they have been adapted to grind large volumes of coca leaves with greater precision and uniformity. This process can take up to 2 hours if approximately 125 kilograms of leaves are being ground. Next, 5 kilograms of cement and 2 kilograms of caustic soda are added to the mixture, substances that help extract the coca leaf's compounds and improve the consistency of the preparation. The cement acts as a binding agent, while the caustic soda enhances the release of alkaloids present in the leaves. Once added, workers mix everything manually using a rudimentary but effective method. They kick and stomp the mixture up to 3 times, ensuring the ingredients are fully integrated. Then, using a shovel, the workers fill several barrels with the mixture of crushed coca leaves and the previously added chemicals. Each barrel can hold approximately 55 kilograms of this mixture, ready for the next stage of the process, where its compounds are extracted. To obtain one of the key ingredients in cocaine production, the cartels employ a clandestine method of extracting oil. They place small valves on the pipelines that transport crude oil to Colombian state refineries, allowing them to illegally extract large volumes. Through these illegal connections, they constantly extract large volumes of oil without being detected. Under this system, they managed to steal more than 270,000 barrels of oil, enough to be clandestinely processed and refined, obtaining approximately 11 million liters of high-purity gasoline, which guarantees production for an entire year. For this reason, every day, heavily armed military personnel armed patrols patrol to prevent the theft of this valuable liquid. The gasoline, valued at $2 billion, is then transported by pack animals and trucks to clandestine laboratories hidden deep in the Colombian jungle. Once the gasoline reaches the clandestine laboratory, the next step of the process begins. The gasoline is poured into barrels previously filled with crushed coca leaves. Then, sulfuric acid, also known as battery fluid, is added. This highly corrosive compound helps extract the plant's alkaloids. This mixture is left to sit for approximately 12 hours, allowing the chemicals to react and dissolve the leaf's active compounds, preparing them for the next stages of processing. Then the filtration process begins to obtain the raw essence of the coca leaf. To do this, the liquid extracted from the coca leaves is first passed through cotton cloths, which act as filters to retain impurities and dirt residue. Then, approximately 4 liters of hydrochloric acid and 250 grams of soda are added, 2 chemicals that facilitate the separation of the coca's active compounds. Once these ingredients are added, the mixture is filtered repeatedly, approximately 5 times, to remove any unwanted residue and the remaining liquid. The result of this process is a thick, lumpy substance that, after being dried and pressed, becomes coca paste. More than 10 tons of coca paste are illegally transported each week to another specialized laboratory, where it is processed into pure cocaine. To avoid detection, traffickers make several weekly shipments using hidden routes and camouflage methods. When the coca paste arrives at the laboratory, it undergoes a reoxidation process to eliminate impurities and refine its composition. To do this, chemists, known as cooks, pour the substance into a 1-meter-high barrel and add a mixture of sulfuric acid, ammonia, and potassium permanganate. These compounds react chemically to purify the paste, eliminating unwanted residues and enhancing the extraction of cocaine hydrochloride. The mixture, of which approximately 300 liters are filtered per day, then passes through a cotton cloth that retains impurities and yields a more refined and pure product. Cocaine hydrochloride, which has a value of $1,500 per kilogram. Finally, the cocaine undergoes an initial manual drying process to reduce surface moisture. It then undergoes controlled heating in a microwave oven or a heat chamber at 40 degrees Celsius, ensuring that the substance is completely dry and ready for storage. Once the desired texture is reached, it is pressed into compact blocks, making it easier to transport and handle. Finally, these packages are wrapped in waterproof materials and carefully sealed to prevent moisture or water from affecting them during their transfer by boat to the United States. It is important to clarify that this video is for informational and educational purposes only. We do not promote or support the use, production, or trafficking of cocaine. This substance is illegal in most countries and has devastating effects on health and society. Its manufacture and marketing fuel violence and crime. If you or someone you know is struggling with drug use, seek professional help. Information is power, and understanding these processes allows us to understand their true impact. Every kilo of cocaine that crosses a border is the result of an immense chain of inequality, corruption, and silence. Thousands of families depend on a crop they chose not out of ambition, but for survival, and thousands more suffer the consequences on the streets, in hospitals, or in overcrowded prisons. Behind every seizure, behind every figure that appears in the headlines, lies a deeper problem, one that cannot be solved with operations, but with education, opportunities, and a human perspective on a reality the world prefers not to see. Because understanding how this illegal economy works isn't just about justifying it, it's the first step toward breaking its power.